A former TNA character has debuted on SmackDown with AJ Styles. It's like all of TNA is coming to WWE the same day that Progress and ICW and WXW are all coming to the network. I doubt this is the sign of a larger Impact move to the WWE network or an invasion, but this is the character. Well, he wasn't called Joseph Park, but in TNA, back in the day, Abyss, obviously a huge part of TNA, one of the biggest stars there. He would feud for the title. He nearly got poached by WWE to have a WrestleMania match with The Undertaker. This was all going on behind the scenes in the noughties, and Abyss said, no, you know what? I'm sticking with TNA. I think they're on the up. Well, that decision worked out well in hindsight. And he had this, great run as Abyss, as this hardcore monster. But then in the early part of the teens, he tried a new character called Joseph Park, which was the sort of legal representation of Abyss. And he's in the suit. And he's, despite being an enormous human being, he's sort of got that kind of Christopher Reeve performance of Superman. When he's Superman, the chest's out like that. He's Abyss the monster. But when he's Clark Kent, he's, despite being huge, the way he composes himself, his little nervous flutters, he feels so much smaller than he is. And that Joseph Park character really was repurposed out of nowhere for a segment with AJ Styles here. AJ Styles has debuted the phenomenal Intercontinental
Statistics System,
which is an acronym.
Yes.
For piss.
Oh, that's a naughty word. I'm not allowed to use that one. Actually, no. Well, this show was TV-14, so no wonder they're allowed to use words like that.
Well, that's another thing. Oh, by the way, I'm Ollie Davis, filling in for Pete on his week off, joined by Andy Datson. So this is another big talking point. Talked about it in the news that went up earlier. Yeah, this was a TV-14 rated episode. I don't think everyone missed it apart from one guy on Twitter who posted the picture. Hey, this is TV-14 now, because there wasn't anything really to stand out as a non-PG angle on this show.
No, I didn't watch this thinking, oh yeah, this is grittier. I guess Braun attacking a woman was something. Maybe Retribution is so hardcore now that they just thought, well, this could scare some children. We don't want them to think that this is okay for them to watch.
Yeah, or like if you just compare it to Raw, last couple of weeks of Raw with the sexy dancers, Raw Underground, MMA feel, that's still technically PG. Whereas this one, TV-14. But yeah, maybe it's piss. But the point here is AJ Styles comes out for a segment. Before the break, it said, oh, AJ is going to come out with his new Moneyball style statistics coach. And yeah, it's Abyss, Joseph Park there. He has been working as a backstage producer and agent for WWE for about 2 years now. He was part of that influx of backstage talent WWE poached from TNA, Impact now, of course, along with like Jeremy Borash and
Sanjay Dutt.
Yes, Sanjay Dutt as well. It's kind of like Triple H's guys that he was using in NXT and then brought up to the main roster behind the scenes, part of his own Retribution style takeover. So it was really nice to see Abyss get an on-screen role here.
Abyss. It was cool. It was cool, and it was obviously cool to see Jeff Hardy join in to really kind of hammer home this TNA stuff. Do you think that the piss was a reference to the Jeff Hardy previous storyline with the whole "we in the face" and the drugs tests and the drinking test and things?
Yes, totally could be.
Yeah.
I didn't pick up on that though, because I was more thinking this is Tony Khan. This is a slight at Tony Khan. Because AJ
the
Styles,
ranking system.
Yeah. AJ Styles comes out and he says, look, I look around everywhere and there's statistics in baseball and there's fantasy leagues and stuff. I'm going to bring statistics into wrestling. That sounds to me like a sort of nod towards maybe their direct competitor on Wednesday nights, whose former business was a sports statistics company.
Sometimes I genuinely think that WWE asks Louis Dangoor what's annoying him about AEW so that they can make fun of it, because he hates AEW's ranking system. Every time it's mentioned, he goes, "It doesn't make any sense." And then the other editors on the website are like, "Oh well, it doesn't really need to make sense. It's just kind of like, yeah, some bits it can make sense." Like there was early this year, there was, I can't remember which team it was. There was a team that was ranked top of the tag rankings, which had a 2-1 record, and then the third ranked team had a 3-3-0 record. So they'd won all their matches, but they were in third place, whereas the team with the 2-1 was in first place. Yeah, it really rankles a lot of people. Yes, I do see why, because that kind of thing doesn't seem to make sense. But then you'll go, yeah, but the people at the top beat the teams that were second and third. It's a bit much for me, but like I get that I can sort of see what they're trying to do. But yeah, this did seem like a pretty obvious shot at statistics don't belong in wrestling, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, again, screw AEW, right, for trying to make logical sense of stuff. But you know that I love AEW, but I have been very vocal how the ranking system isn't done right by them. They really pick and choose when they want to use it. Excuse me. As sort of a way to book their matches. But yeah, so it was quite funny to see AJ Styles do this, and the Joseph Park piss character, a piss, as you so brilliantly puns there, was a sort of Moneyball style figure, and he's there in his suit. I love him as a performer because, like I said, all the Christopher Reeve, Clark Kent stuff earlier, he's just got like this amazingly expressive face where it's like Penn and Teller. He looks like Penn Jillette.
That's what I was genuinely going to wait for you to finish, because I was going to say he looks like Penn from Penn and Teller. Yeah, no, because I genuinely, if you'd said, "Oh, which former TNA star is that?" Because I didn't watch back in the day when he was Joseph Park, I don't think I would have clocked it. So that's impressive in itself. Yeah, no, he's just this kind of giant but almost sort of demure man.
Yeah, because he also contorts his face into all these sort of wacky facial expressions. Like, yeah, it's Pee Wee Harmon combined with Penn Jillette's frame. I thought he was really good. He didn't actually have anything to do really.
No,
he's just there standing in as the kind of human embodiment of this statistics thing. He didn't, like, if they were really going for AEW, they could have used someone who looked more like Tony Khan, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it could well have been that Vince was going around going, can anyone do this segment? And he just goes, oh yeah, I can do something like that. I mean, I've done this sort of thing before. He's like, oh, where have you done that? Oh no, it's a totally original idea. You won't have seen this anyway. So. Yeah, no, it was a really nice addition to the segment, even if he was kind of just sort of a background character.
Well, AJ Styles, after saying the word statistics about 18 times, and, you know, of all the characters, of all the wrestlers to sort of rely on science and empirical evidence, I don't know if AJ Styles is the right guy. It's almost like a rib on AJ that he's there saying, look, you got to rely on the numbers. So he says, you know, he reveals that the ranking system is just him. He's the only person in the IC division. And that brings out Jeff Hardy. Like you said, he challenges him to a match. AJ says no. And Jeff Hardy lays them all out, signs the board with a permanent marker, which was very funnily brought up later. And yeah, so no match was made for SummerSlam. But you've got to imagine it's AJ versus Jeff, right?
Yes, and I do not need to see that.
You don't want to see Jeff Hardy versus AJ Styles?
I would have done 10 years ago when Jeff could. I see. Jeff Hardy was my favorite wrestler when I was growing up. Like a lot of people, I think, who grew up in my kind of era. I just find his matches incredibly formulaic and stunted now because all of his his bones from his back to his ankle are all one bone now. So all of his moves just look really uncomfortable, and he just does the same 8 moves. I know a lot of people do the same 8 moves, but they actually put moves in between those moves, whereas he just does the same 8 moves. And I'm sure AJ Styles could make him look really good, but it looked for a while like they were intertwining all these stories with Sheamus and Shorty G and Matt Riddle and Baron Corbin, and it looked like we were heading for some kind of 6-pack challenge 5-man match, which I'd have been way more into than just a singles match with Jeff Hardy.
That could still happen. They never made the match official. And on the Jeff Hardy stuff, I do agree. Like, I was never super into the Hardy Boys like everyone was. But you can't deny was really unique in the way he used to wrestle. If you go back and watch his stuff from back then, you're like, oh my God, this is so beyond everyone else at the time. But now it does feel like he wrestles matches as though he starts falling over at the start of the match. Yeah. And in that sort of forward motion is always falling over right to the end.
But it's okay because what's her face? Shayna Baszler distracted us at one point in the show from Jeff Hardy's inability to walk by doing exactly the same thing. But we'll get to that.
So yeah, we will find out about the Intercontinental Championship plans next week. I think it's going to be Jeff versus AJ. I believe. I think
it has to be now. Yeah. It makes sense for it to be. I would just have preferred, because if that is the case, then we've got Matt Riddle. I think it's probably going to be Matt Riddle against Baron Corbin by the looks of things or Matt Riddle versus Baron Corbin and Shorty G, something like that at SummerSlam. Or even Matt Riddle and Sheamus somehow versus, even though Sheamus is 2 weeks kind of 2 weeks ago, he was making fun of an alcoholic, and now he's apparently just beating up heels. So,
but he was getting booed by the planted crowd.
We'll come on confusing. Yes.
Yeah. But I guess the only other thing is, do you want to see more of piss?
I always want to see more of Piss. I feel like he could be a really fun character just for AJ to just sort of drag around. Doesn't really have to do anything. And I'm not saying he should have a wrestling match, because I don't know if he's interested in that, but like, he has the ability to get physical if needed. So that could be a fun little addition to the story.
Well, I think, I would adore a long-term, couple of months bullying storyline. AJ and poor old Piss. I imagine we'll find out his real name at one point, but AJ's always calling him just Piss this and Piss that. And after a bit, he finally snaps, and we get Abyss in WWE.
I like how your idea of long-term for WWE was a couple of months.
Hey. I've got to be realistic here.